All right, people, here today to find out, should we be afraid of AI? Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, ooh. So we have Caleb here with me today, and we're just going to talk about AI, some of the advancements, usefulness, maybe some of the negative issues associated with it, and how that would apply to our daily lives. Is this a thing we should be concerned with? That's the discussion today. So, in thinking about AI, right, we've all been using it for a long time, even though we didn't realize it in some instances.
In the background, like a lot of algorithms and stuff.
Okay, so algorithms, then a lot of them aren't just a mathematician somewhere in the corner creating the algorithm. I mean, they were at some one point.
It's not exactly an exact science, because with AI you just have it is a mathematician with equations, but then you kind of train it on data to optimize whatever you're trying to optimize, being like engagement or something on social media.
Yeah. So there's constant tweaking.
Yeah, it's a black box.
Yeah. Yeah. So since it's a black box equation, so what's in that black box?
You can look that up on your own.
Yeah.
But it's like a bunch of. It's just inputs, outputs, and a bunch of weighted sums.
Yeah. So in saying that, AI, it's short for artificial intelligence, but is that really even the proper word for that, you think? I mean, if we think about the way that we normally think about intelligence, we think about intelligence as something that's alive, right? Mm-hmm. And so now we're saying artificial intelligence, like it's pretending to be alive.
Yeah.
You think that's a fair title for that? I mean, I'm not trying to get off in the philosophical weeds here. Okay. I'm just saying, do you think it's a fair title? Like, is it really intelligence, or is it just sophisticated programming?
Mimicry?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it reflects the intelligence of the data that it uses. So,
in combination with the creator, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Combination with the creator. The better you make it, the more intelligent it's going to be. But I mean, will it exceed like our own understanding?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Yeah, that's a difficult. See, this is where we start running into interesting scenarios. Like, could AI, outperform humans?
Yeah.
And I think that's relative to what? Because we're talking about very niche things that AI does. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily. People think of AI, and people get afraid, and think about, say, Terminator, or people looking for John Connor and Sarah Connor, right? Is the Terminator here now, right?
Yeah, I mean, people are doing that kind of thing with robotics.
General intelligence.
Yeah, general intelligence and the robotics that backs it up. But it's really hard. It's a really hard problem. You have people like Boston Dynamics.
Mm-hmm. That's the robot you see, right, trying to push them over and all that.
Yeah.
And then some of the fake ones that are online too, where they're like sword fighting with them or something like that, or shooting guns at them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard problem though.
Yeah. So right now, AI, like some of the main tasks that it has, I think, improve quality of life in a lot of areas, right?
Definitely.
Because if you have, I know even on, say, large buildings where there's an AI on the air conditioning system, mm-hmm. Where it's sort of trying to optimize what it needs to do or not do, depending upon the weather outside, the amount of people inside the room, the humidity. It's looking at all these things and saying, well, I don't need to put out all this effort to heat this building up because I'm getting this data in, and in 15 minutes, the sun is going to be hitting all this glass and heating this thing up. So why would I waste that energy now? Mm-hmm. It's not necessary. I'm just going to lightly sort of move this around for it. It's making those kinds of decisions. I mean,
I'm going to eat my own words, but I mean, it could really be more intelligent just because it has all of the general knowledge that, we have little holes that we don't even realize we have
Mm-hmm.
in our own understanding of the world that we just ignore. But it could have all of the competencies and all of
Well, if you just
the
kept combining them.
yeah.
So, I mean, because
And that's really what engineering is. Like
Sure.
combining competencies to solve a
that's
problem.
right. Yeah, that's right. You're looking at hard science and trying to fix a problem in the world.
Mhm.
Like, what are the things out there and that we can put together tools, to create something that will fix a problem or improve quality of life or something like that. I mean, we have washers and dryers that have AI. Dishwashers that do. They're looking at how much water do I really need to use.
Mhm.
We're using AI all the time. The GPS in our phones or in your car. It's looking at traffic issues and this is a better route. Or
Yeah.
there's decisions being made all the time for us in that way if we choose to follow that.
Mhm.
But you're worried about eating your own words here. Like it could, but really,
Yeah.
the limitation isn't. It's based on a physical problem, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. It's based on
the tech.
compute. Yeah. Not the structure of AI. Probably. It's just, how many GPUs do you have? How many specialized AI chips can you afford?
Right. So do you think then that we will get, because right now we already have people that will argue with bots online, right? They passed the Turing test long ago, and you're able to, for many people to be able to determine whether that thing is alive or not, right? So I do think that we're sort of at a critical point at this moment with people confusing, like making it worse, I guess, make them expounding on the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes me think of that is what happened at Google with the engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I think their AI is Lambda, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Basically what happens, the engineer created a product so good that it fooled himself. So
Right.
I don't know if that's a compliment or if it's
he's kind of going on an ego trip there a little bit.
Yeah, does that make him incompetent or really competent?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could go either way because he wanted Google to stop doing experiments with it because he believed that Lambda had become sentient,
Mm-hmm.
or his version of whatever sentient.
Right, and then we get
Sentient
into
means.
like how do you even define sentient, and
Yeah.
is that the same as human consciousness and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff?
It's somewhat, we were going back into like Data on Star Trek, where he's trying to determine whether something is really life or not, and whether he's alive. That
Well, and the show kind of plays with that a lot.
it does. So it's sort of,
With,
where's
like,
the border?
Falling in love and like
Yeah, that's right.
weird things with.
Well, that brings up a lot of interesting things because if you're, I mean, in a lot of ways, we are machines. We're biological machines, right? And we respond to certain stimuli or whatever. Our proteins fold in a certain way, and they have to because that's the way that they're made.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the rules, basically. Kind of like chemistry, H2O, right? The oxygens attach at a particular angle,
Mm-hmm.
or the hydrogens rather, to the oxygen. They attach at a particular angle every time.
Yeah.
Right? That's because that's how the pieces fit together. And so some people are working on this, general intelligence. We're trying to, encompass a larger range of things. And I think, though, that people have the most experience with things like, say, now ChatGPT.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you're talking about the GPTs.
Yeah.
That are taking off. I would just say, really don't trust factual information that you get from that thing. Like, they're good for like brainstorming and
Mhm.
maybe like looking for information is fine, but to just trust exactly what the prompt spits out is irresponsible.
Well, because it's reliant upon not its own data, but the data that we've created.
Oh yeah,
That's
and
the issue.
the data that we've created is
It's faulty.
false. A lot of it's false. Like any misinformation that you've seen online,
Mhm.
that's probably
It could have come from
it
that.
could have been
Yeah.
in the algorithm, because I mean they're just like sweeping the whole internet to get general intelligence.
Yeah, and you know, we did an episode on like the Satanic Panic, and that was evidence of how us as humans can perpetuate myths about what was actually going on in the world.
Mhm.
And if you would have had something like ChatGPT at that moment, and we would have had it sweeping the internet, if it would have existed in the way that it does now,
Right.
it would have come up with, if you would have said, hey, is this happening? It would have probably said yes, because there were news reports and there were sources that appeared to be legitimate. Yeah. But even with that today, of us knowing that some sources are not legitimate, I think that's one of the problems with general AI, at least something like ChatGPT, because how does it weight one thing over the other, right? I mean, if I just create a blog and say, you know, rainfall's up now, and ChatGPT is sweeping and it sees my article
Mhm.
about rain formation.
Well, the problem is that, like, you don't know. It's not necessarily going to correct your misconceptions,
Yeah.
right? So if you have that blog and it's in the network,
Yeah.
like, and every time you search something, there's actually a little AI you can click on, at least on my browser,
Hmm.
and it'll read all the stuff,
That's right.
and then it'll give you an answer to your question
Based on the
based on the stuff.
yes,
So
whatever comes up, and that's
Yeah.
based on what?
So
That's based on like Google's algorithm,
yeah,
or
which is an AI.
another AI.
sure.
So
Yeah.
you've got one AI looking at what another AI has categorized already.
Yeah.
It's already weighted them. But how is that weighted? Is it weighted by truthfulness or veracity of the claim? I don't think it is. It's
Yeah. I mean, they're pre-trained, but
yeah.
it doesn't prevent it from, because it's going to read your theoretical article that we're talking about,
Mhm.
and if somebody asks like, how does rain fall up?
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna look for the answer in that spot.
It's gonna find
and
my
then
article
It'll just
and spit
say
out the
it.
answer and say, this is how.
Yeah.
This has been determined, and it will create a thesis based on my blog or my website and give you that answer, which is completely false.
And there's definitely tons of people working on, you know, how to mitigate
Yeah, how do you
this
fix that?
situation, you know.
Yeah, because you know I think that's probably the most difficult part of this whole AI problem, because as far as improving it, you know, if you have a robot, let's just say you mentioned Boston Dynamics earlier, and these robots, you know, well, if you're training this thing to not fall, right, and it's iterating, it's creating its own whatever it's doing in its own AI,
Yeah.
right, to say, oops, that was a problem, I need to correct for that for next time, right, and it tries it again, and you push it again, and it still falls, but almost stays up.
Mhm.
Well, it knows it's moving in the right direction, and now it changes it again, and it can stay. But how do you do that with data, with raw data, other than, you know, laboriously going in and verifying facts?
Yeah. Well, actually, somebody did that. They took. I don't even remember it. I listened to a podcast. I don't even remember what it was, but it was an AI that they were trying to build based on just statements of fact. So they have like hundreds of thousands. I think it was tons. I think it was a university.
You have to have like an army of people.
Oh, they did. You know, it was just facts on facts on facts, and it still doesn't live up to kind of the glory of what ChatGPT is.
Well, it sounds like you just you just think that AI is not gonna. I mean, at least at this moment, it's not going to be, like the AI in, say, iRobot.
Mm-hmm.
Taking over the world and making these great decisions.
Yeah. I mean, I really doubt it.
Yeah.
I think the main problem with that is like access.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would it code something and execute?
Well, but you said earlier, sometimes AI is making decisions or it's doing something that we don't know what that's doing, or we may have holes in our data, and it doesn't have a hole. It is figured out. I was thinking about you showed me the video with the 3 pendulums.
Mm-hmm.
And the
controlling triple pendulum.
Yeah. Triple pendulum, 3 pendulums in a row.
Which is incredible.
And the guy, he created this AI to balance it. Right. Like it would swing it into position. It could do any of these positions. 1 pendulum up, 2 pendulums up, all 3 of them up, and hold it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that, as an individual, just for as people are concerned, or the way our brain works, that would be extremely difficult.
Oh yeah, to accomplish. Yeah. I'm not even sure that we did before AI. We did that. I don't really think
that I think is the part that maybe scares people that look into it. The idea that it doesn't don't know how it did it.
Understand it.
We don't understand it.
I mean, that's the biggest problem.
Fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Because people say, well, you can keep it isolated from networks and stuff, but that's not what we're doing with it. I mean, Google is run by it, right? Now, not some of the big ones, or at least we don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Right. But I was thinking, I think Lambda is a combination of several AIs that have been sort of meshed together. Where you have this language model, and then you have, then you have this other module that looks at data, and you're trying to put all these different pieces together. And
all of them are doing that now. Having integration with, images and videos and PDFs, whatever it is.
Right. So, for now though, if you needed to generate some repetitive code, you could just say, ChatGPT, do this, and it would do that. And you need to check it, but in general, it has just done some task for you that would have taken you a long time.
Yeah.
So it's very useful for that, right? Mm-hmm. It's useful in telling people maybe what they might like. Kind of, we think.
Kind of. Depends on how much data you give it.
Yeah.
And even then, if people are weird and you might not like whatever it tells you.
So if you're on a streaming platform, it says, we think you might like this because you watched these shows and you like them.
That's why TikTok is so popular. Because of their algorithm
feeds you what you want.
Is that good.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, so if that's true, and it's just on a social media platform, and I say just, but these platforms are making a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So they have the funding to make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can outcompete the other platforms, then you're going to make more money because it's going to keep people on your platform longer.
Yep.
And you're going to take the market share. So that drive has generally been, at least at some point, comes to an ethical / moral
for sure
issue, right?
For sure. Like you're trying to get people addicted to your platform.
Right. So this can create serious problems, and also drive other people out of business that may have been even more innovative in other ways.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I think it kind of narrows your focus, right? If you can go down some rabbit hole on YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. And this thing will drive you deeper and deeper into whatever it is that you're looking at.
Right.
And not see any outside opinion any other data. You won't see any competition for these ideas.
No, it definitely pigeonholes you.
Yeah, if you start watching flat Earth videos,
Mhm.
the next video is going to be a suggestion of flat Earth, likely.
Yeah.
And then the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next
Well,
one.
like if I start watching something new on YouTube or something, I might get like most of my feed is now that because it wants me to find. I feel like it wants me to find like another niche so that I'll come back for that one too, as well as the other
And run
ones.
that through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't care about whether or not it's true.
Yeah.
It just cares about views.
Well, I was having a conversation recently with Larry, how he figured out what information was true in the world, and there were only certain ways that you could do it. And it took time, and it was difficult. And then by the time you figured it out, it might be out of date, actually.
Yeah.
It could be, you go to the library and there's a 20-year-old book, and that it was correct, or at least to the best of their ability 20 years ago, but now it's really not.
Mhm.
I don't know that it's that much better today,
I really don't think it is.
because however, say all these algorithms work on various different search engines, if I'm looking for something, how is it weighting it? What's going on in there? Am I finding the information that I really need? Am I getting all the information that I need? And I don't know that I am.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It is. Because, you have even really popular news stations that grab hold of stories that are just proven to be completely false. And I guess that's the beauty of the internet, is that, if you put something out there,
It is out there.
it's out there and people are going to tear it to pieces.
Yeah. That's true even with factual stuff. That's the problem, right? I mean,
it is.
because people come up with all sorts of wild conspiracy theories and things, but
Well, not to mention anybody can post. And so you could have a group or a government or something create a whole bunch of fake accounts and just start bashing this idea on all sorts of sites. And then when you go and look for information, it's just people crapping on this idea that's actually true.
Right, right.
For people.
and sometimes because they don't understand it, maybe they may not even understand the how of the way that something works, and so they think, well, it can't possibly be true, or some lack of knowledge or something. But if we're at the point though where, say, an engineer thinks that his product might be alive, now that product isn't available to the general public anyway at this point, but it seems to me to be a problem, right? I mean, because of the advances, and ChatGPT, for instance, is new iterations every year now, right? Or even partial ones during the year. I think you have you have paid versions that are like the plus versions and the regular version out there. And we're working on 5.0 now or something, I think. But anyway, this just came out, right? And we're moving very quickly with it. And I'm not one to say that we shouldn't move ahead with technology. I don't think we should, hinder that.
Of course.
But at the same time, I do think that we should be careful in what we're using it for and how it's applied. I know I was reading about the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office said that they weren't accepting anything created by AI, at least at the moment, for patents. I think it's just them being conservative about it, but I don't.
Right. But I can see both ways.
Yeah.
Like, you have the artists on these sites that are spending thousands of hours trying to put the right prompt in to get exactly what they want, and that's an art form in itself.
Yeah.
Like, I also think of people that will take like newspapers and stuff and form an image out of it. It reminds me of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because people always say, well, they're using
They're using somebody else's
right. They
info.
use somebody else's pictures, and then that's forming the picture. That's exactly what you do when
to create those
to
images.
create newspaper
Yeah.
images or all kinds of things, collages.
So, forming things from other people's work, you think that's just, it's not really, we're always sort of doing that, aren't we? Though?
Yeah, exactly. Like who's the creator of English?
Right.
Like, we're all
Yeah. And we're using English language to do things, to
Yeah.
speak, to write, to whatever.
exactly. Is that not a copyright infringement?
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I get trying to protect.
I think they'll move ahead. It's just, I think it's going to take some time for them to feel out what's actually going to happen with AI.
Yeah.
Maybe there was some fear about that. Maybe they talked to the guy at Google that thought it was sentient. We don't know. But
Maybe so.
well,
There's a lot of like pushback, like hesitancy from the government and everything, because it has a potential to disrupt.
yeah, it's a disruptive technology.
Yeah, it is.
There's no way around it.
Which is a good thing. Every single one of those in history has just completely
It changed the world.
changed everything.
Look at electricity. You can put into homes. What's happening? The internet.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disruptive. The combustion engine, right? I mean, I'm betting people probably doubled down on buying mules and horses and said that stupid thing's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sticking with the stuff that works. You know, and people
I'm
are
sure they
still
did
doing that
fine
today. For a time.
for their
Sure.
time.
That's right.
But after,
Yeah.
like these people that invest in the internet, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you're just billionaires, trillionaires.
Exactly. Now, you know, some of those companies at some point needed to transition, and if you didn't transition, you were going to be a casualty.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the odd thing about that is I think about companies like Sears, where they started off as a catalog company. There were no brick and mortar stores. You got a catalog in the mail. You could order it out of the mail. They shipped it to your house.
I didn't know that.
That was their bread and butter. That is what they did for years and years and years. Just, you know, before there were even good general stores in places. I mean, people were ordering like shotguns out of a catalog. I mean, really. And they were drugs, whatever. It was in this catalog, and they would deliver it to your house. You could get puppies, dogs, like hunting dogs and things from the catalog, and they would deliver it to you, right? So what Amazon does later, right, is the same thing that Sears did in the late 1800s,
Online.
just online. And the funny thing about it is that Sears went from a catalog company to mainly a brick and mortar store.
Which seems like the wrong direction.
Well, for the time, I think it was fine, but they didn't keep, when the switch was happening, when people started putting, you know, their merchandise online, Sears didn't do it.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like they had gone too far.
they
And
forgot.
they didn't want to.
They didn't want to rewind it or whatever. Sunk cost fallacy. I don't know, but they put all their eggs in that basket and
Yeah.
being that store, and because I think they could have preempted companies like Amazon.
They could have competed at the very least.
Exactly. You could have, like, we could all be saying, you know,
I order my
your-
stuff from Amazon.
Yeah,
I order mine from Sears.
that's right.
Whatever.
Your Sears Prime membership
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
Because they already had the data of how to do it and the way that people responded from long ago. They had the company experience. I mean, most of those people were dead, but
Sure.
you know, company records and the way that they did things. It seems like looking at your own history, you would be able to do that, but they failed to do that. And there were many stores that I think, you know, went through the same fate. And with this AI revolution, that's another disruptive technology that's going to pick winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you take somebody like Amazon, right, who has essentially taken over.
Yeah, monopolized.
They really have. They've monopolized that market.
Yeah.
You know, if you want something delivered, and then they're sticking out their feelers into everything just in case.
Yeah.
Right? Because at first it was like mainly a bookstore, and
Just weird to think about that it was just like Audible or something.
Yeah.
And now they're
it was mainly a book. Yeah, and then now it's like you buy toilet
shipping
paper.
trampolines to people.
Yeah, or how about this pre-made boat dock that you can install?
Yeah.
Or
No, they do have like houses, like little mini
exactly.
houses.
What is this 50 by 75 red iron building that you can put together? We're going to drop ship it in your driveway. I mean, they do it. And now they're getting into like foods, like cold foods, not just shelf stable stuff, but cold foods, because they can deliver it quicker and better. And so they're trying to compete against people like Instacart and all these other places that are, shopping for people. And so whatever market it is, they're sticking their feelers out. So, and I don't know if that's because of the innovation that's coming from the minds of people that are coming up with these ideas, or maybe they're using some sort of AI algorithm to determine what to do. I remember it was some years ago. It was now I don't remember what organization it was, but one of them their algorithm had determined that this girl was pregnant before she knew it, and was sending diaper ads and things to her. She didn't know, her father didn't know. She was like 16 years old, and their algorithm had already predicted that based on her shopping habits, that this must be what it is, and that's when you've sort of turned the corner here. And if you have the ability to predict what people are going to buy next, you are going to advance past the competition.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have it ready to go, and you're going to get it faster. It's going to be cheaper for you to get it because you're buying it before the demand hits. And now it's. I think all these companies are in an arms race with various different algorithms and AI to determine who's going to win the game.
Yeah.
This is true with streaming platforms. This is going to be true with shopping experiences. Whether it's, I think, even in a store, right? In grocery stores, like brick and mortar grocery stores, where, what do I need to order? What do I need to have on the next truck?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have just a butcher walking around the store and saying, we need more pork chops? Or is there a system in place that
tracks
buying habits?
How much, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, no, we've had too many pork chops over the last month.
Right.
It's time to switch to a different product.
And that seems like people are going to lose their jobs. But again, history tells us that's wrong.
Right.
Again.
Right. Disruptive technology doesn't cause people to lose their jobs. It causes...
to lose that job.
Yes, it changes the jobs.
Way more
Yeah.
In its place.
Yeah, that's why I think the fear over AI taking jobs is way overplayed. You may have to train differently or learn to do a different job, but that's how life is.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. As an engineer, right? If you don't keep up with the new tech, well, somebody else who's trained on it is going to have to take your job and do that because you don't know what you're doing anymore.
Yep.
You don't understand the products that are coming out, and that's true with any trade. If there's a new roofing material and the roofers one roofing company refuses to use the new material and everybody wants to use it, at some point they're going to go out of business, and have to do something else if they refuse. And that's due to our own hard-headedness,
And I'm all for like doing what works.
Yeah.
But when you have a whole market shifting, you gotta hop on.
Yeah.
You gotta
what are you
hop
gonna
on
do?
the train.
Even if it's a little late.
Yeah.
If you want to stay in the game at all.
Like all these brick and mortar stores, like Walmart.
Yeah.
And stuff. They're somebody that
They're
does
shopping
the
online.
same thing for a long time. It works.
Yeah.
But now they have shopping online. They have delivery.
Yeah.
All this stuff, and they do fill a gap that Amazon doesn't.
They do, because they're catering to both crowds.
Yeah.
They're saying, you know what? You don't have to shop online. you can come on into the store and walk around for hours, and
Yep.
you know, in your
If
pajamas
it's
or whatever
something
it is.
that makes it like clothes and stuff like that.
That's right. Yeah, especially for that, I do think there are some products that it's just better to be in person.
Clothes is better.
You know, how does it actually fit? You know, and now there are some places that have tried to fill that niche, though.
It's true, but the problem is they're
You have
more
to ship
expensive.
it back and forth. They are more expensive.
They're more expensive. Either you ship it back and forth, which, wow, that's great. Let's just
Yeah.
ship things all over the country
Right.
back and forth. Or you
It's very wasteful.
like scan your body and
Yeah.
send that into them, and then that's like, now we're giving
Yeah.
a scan of our body to a company.
Yeah, like it's
Amazon's going to have a scan of everyone's body.
It's like the TSA or
know
something.
who has diabetes and stuff.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's-
You have a weird
it's
lump right there. You
pretty
should see
weird.
that. See something. Yeah, do something about that.
Yeah.
The other aspect of this, I think I wanted to get to in this conversation was, does AI have the potential, at least in the near term, and I don't even know what that word means, near term, at this point,
Yeah.
because it's moving so quickly, but in the near term, to cause problems for society in general, and more specifically for individual people, like real issues, and then even more long term than that, does that outlook get bleaker as we move ahead? So what do you think?
I think we're behind. I think it's already happened.
Okay, so you think it's right now it's already causing issues for
terms
society and
In
individuals?
terms of generations that grew up with TikTok,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people.
Well, they've been fed the algorithm,
are
right?
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people are very addicted to social media and in ways that we don't
understand yet, right?
people aren't even thinking about.
So all the psychological data we don't have yet, right?
Mhm.
So people your age, right, Gen Z, the internet has been here for your entire existence.
Yeah.
It's always been there, and it's gotten more and more accessible the older that you've gotten.
Mhm.
More and more easy to see things and to be fed these algorithms that have constantly been improving on themselves
Yeah.
to give you what you want. Now, because what you want is not necessarily what's
Good for you.
good for you. That's
Yeah.
right. And there,
that will never be the motivation of a company.
to give somebody what they need
Yeah.
rather than what they
Because
want.
what they need might just be for an EMP blast to destroy all the technology in their life, you know?
Yeah. Like an intervention or something, throw your
Yeah.
phone in the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so that runs us into sort of an ethical, moral issue then, right? Where at first it doesn't seem to be, when you just start talking about the technology of it, the physics of it, the tech side, but then when you get into like human psychology and the implications it has on personal relationships,
Yeah.
talking with people, being present with people, and I don't mean that in a get off my lawn sense because you can't have your phone. I just mean, being able to interact in the world where you could have a conversation in general with a person.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get fed only what you want constantly over and over again, you have no experience with things outside of that. I think we're getting to a place where more and more people will end up in that place.
Well, I mean, you just ideas.
You get cloistered.
Ideas diverge.
Yeah.
So fast. You have all of these little niches, and you just want to be. Oh, it's just me and my truth and my little group. And I
Right.
just get this feedback loop of whatever I want
That's
to
right.
hear. And I also think about as these AIs do get more and more human-like
Mhm.
and predicting what you want, you already have this like porn issue that people have,
yeah.
and now we have like AI girlfriends,
AI porn,
and
yeah.
AI porn, and like,
I didn't even think about
and now
that.
VR. It's like it's
Or-
just getting
Or even augmented
so
and
bad.
augmented reality. right? Which
Mhm.
is sort of another line of
that
AI.
could go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because augmented reality is going to have to use both the real world and the fantasy or fictional world
Yeah.
or the AI world to sort of lace things up. If I want to see a rabbit run across the hill behind me here,
Mhm.
it has to be able to know in real time what that would look like and not look like it's floating in the air as it runs across or whatever.
Yeah.
If I want it to be realistic.
Well, I think it's
But so if you're
it's going to do exactly what all the social media apps do, and it's going to keep you on it
Mhm.
just long enough so that see, God's not even happy with it.
No, he's not. Yeah, he saw that.
It's gonna keep you on just long enough where you can survive and function, but every other waking moment you're just zone in on whatever their thing
It
is.
sounds like a virus.
Yeah,
It's like we've created the tech version of a biological disease, of a virus or something like it.
yeah.
Because I wasn't thinking about the porn issue too, but that is something because already people have an issue with porn because
Mm-hmm.
it creates this fictional world, or it tries to bring you into this fantasy world that isn't reality.
And it plays on what you're designed for.
That's right.
Right.
Sure.
It plays on something that,
It's something that everybody's going to have a desire for.
Right. and it just amplifies it.
That's right. Yeah, it creates it so that the real world will not live up to the expectations that you have in your mind.
Yeah. Even though if you had never seen it, the real thing would have been probably
Way better than
better.
you thought. That's right. And so that's where I think, that is bad.
Yes.
Because if you do that, like again, already it's a problem for people in their relationships and in interaction with the world and with sex and everything else. So if you have now AI creating sexual experiences,
Well, not
for
just
people.
that, like personal.
sure,
With AI, like
you could make it.
you have a relationship with
That's true.
your AI because it remembers things. It
Yeah.
talks like a person.
Yeah, this is what
If
I
it's-
like. This is
if
what
it's
you
a
like.
game,
That's kind of
you see the person.
Sure.
It's just like
well. And if the engineer at Google was fooled by Lambda, so you can imagine that kind of interaction happening, but in a world of porn.
mhm.
Porn already outperforms the NFL and the NBA and the NHL and the Major League Baseball and all of the sports combined. It has that much money. Okay, that much money is being taken in. So you can imagine then the amount of money that will be spent by the porn industry to have AI feed you exactly what your niche thing is in porn
Yeah.
and bring you down that hole so that is the way that you need to function.
Yeah.
Again, addiction in that sense, right? To become addicted to that. And you may not be able to interact with the world. I mean, especially if you feel like, this thing gets me.
Mhm.
Like I'm connected to this entity or whatever the name is of the individual that I've given it. I mean,
Yeah.
all of our devices already have that, right? Well, Google's kind of, but we have like Alexa, right? And so
Trying to make it more personal.
yeah, to make it more personal. And so that's going to be in that porn world,
Mhm.
right? And if you have AI doing this, like right now, you can create deep fakes with celebrities and things like that. And so if you add that to that porn world too, then you have people that are sort of falling in love with and lust for individuals that they would never be able to have a real relationship with.
Oh yeah.
And stalking them and whatever. And what if you are just able to like take a picture of someone that
Oh yeah, that's another.
turns you down for a date and take that into the world of porn.
And create fake.
Yeah,
stuff.
and humiliate them in that. Because AI,
There's gonna have to be some legal.
I don't know how this is going to work out. I really
legal
don't.
stuff happen in terms of that because it's already a problem.
Sure, there's like revenge porn or whatever, and people get, having to try to sue to pull it down and
But
things
now
like that.
you don't even have to be in the same continent. I mean, you have to picture somebody.
Yeah. You can find them on Facebook or some other social media platform, and if your profile is public and you've ever posted a picture that's public, it's out there.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you can do about it. I mean, you can go back using the Wayback Machine or whatever and go back in the internet in time, even before you even realized there was going to be a problem, and find the stuff that's already out there. Or a newspaper article or whatever, a yearbook, some company profile, your LinkedIn profile. It doesn't make a difference. This is going to be a serious issue for society to deal with, for individuals to deal with, and there's a serious ethical and moral dilemma wrapped up in it.
Yeah.
And I don't know I don't pretend to know the solution or even where to go from that. I feel like we need an AI to figure out how to deal with the problem. Which,
I mean, there are AIs that can tell if something is made by an AI.
Yeah.
But it's a race.
Sure. It's like hacking.
And the other one is always behind.
That's right.
It just has to be.
It's like virus protection software or hacking, where
it can only.
It's an arms race, just like it is for nature. It's an arms race.
Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to talk about on this, just in this conversation anyway, because I think there's a lot of places we can go in this conversation, but it has to do with something a little further than what we were just talking about, because I think AI here was, about taking us down these paths that we wanted to go. I'm thinking about AI taking us down paths that we don't want to go. All right, which
somebody wants.
It's somebody
wants it to go down.
But I just mean it like in the sense that you think you might want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what happens when we get to the point where AI is sort of running our lives, or how do we safeguard against that? And I know that we sort of been talking about that in a sense, but I'm taking it a step further. Like, pretty soon there'll be you can get ChatGPT app on your phone right now, right? So what stops a developer from creating one that will tell you how to make decisions during the day?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking like you'll have a screen next to your door.
Yeah.
And every day you get up, you do your thing, whatever, and then you walk to your door.
It gives you a list of things to do.
Exactly. Like, you work this long, you'll do this, do this, you do this. And it's just so easy, and you just click, and it's like, woo, yay, you
got the check marks.
And then you get positive feedback for it.
That's right. Well, because right now, you can wear a watch, and it says, hey, it's time to stand up. And you're like, oh, and this is great. I need to stand up.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to walk more. And it tells you to walk more, and you walk more. And those aren't bad things in
Those
themselves. They're good. But that is sort of the same kind of, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's almost like pre-training you to follow commands.
It is though, isn't it? Because if one day,
it's dystopia.
I'm thinking, it is. Because I'm thinking, like, if you back in the 80s, if somebody would come in and said, hey, this computer wants you to do this thing, I would have just laughed it out of the room.
Yeah.
But now we're sort of at the point where if we're saying, hey, this is the best decision. I mean, right now in football, they have, teams that are deciding what the best play is next based off of AI algorithms.
Well, there's so much data and
there is. There's a ton of it.
It's so easy to create AI.
That's right. You should go for it on fourth down right here, because you're 90% likely to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not, again, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing in of itself. But I think if we're not careful, we'll begin living a life that's not our life.
Mm.
We'll begin living a life that's supposed to be the ideal that we're being
Right.
presented.
That's optimized.
That's right.
Right.
And is that really us? Is that really human? Is that really, I think we run into a weird wall there, of deciding, if I get up in the morning and the thing says, well, you shouldn't grocery shop today, you should do whatever. And I was going out the door to go grocery shopping, and I might have met someone there that would have been important for my life.
It knows the data, like it knows people are supposed to be there at a certain time. Or
That's right. And you're like, well, this is helpful for my life. And so you're making that decision because you believe it's helpful. And it likely is in so many of those circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not always what we need.
Mm-hmm.
We want it, but that's, again, we're going back to that want-need thing. If everybody is, when they got up in the morning, all their decisions are being made by a computer somewhere, or in our pocket, or in the cloud, or whatever it is that we're going to be using in the future.
Mm-hmm.
All of our decisions are being made that way. It really isn't that far off of some dystopian future like iRobot.
Well, no, it's not, because you're really trusting whoever's put that together.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't.
Exactly. So that part of it is kind of scary, honestly, because we are moving in that direction. And again, I'm saying AI is a very useful tool and it's good, but man, I can see some really bad outcomes here.
AI does what it's designed to do.
Sure.
So
the problem isn't the AI. The problem is what we're deciding to do with that AI.
Exactly. And that's what I think people don't
It's a tool.
It's understand is that, it is a tool, and people are going to use it for certain things, and you don't want to
as a rule.
Yeah, you don't want to be fooled.
Yeah. It's a tool. It's not to be used as a rule for your life.
Mm-hmm.
And there, it comes against something. And as a Christian, I would think that, from that standpoint, we're supposed to be responding to the Holy Spirit's presence in our life, not, the spirit in the cloud that we're listening to
Right.
from whatever tech company has come up with it. And the people that are going to be able to do this are going to be the people that are extremely wealthy. Mm-hmm. It's not like, there's a plywood shack down the road who has just developed a great AI for you that's going to improve your life.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It has to be these large conglomerates because it costs so much money in development. And there's no way that organizations like that will decide it's best for humanity if I make myself a smaller organization and just improve the world.
Yeah.
We're just not like that.
Yeah.
We're inherently selfish.
Yeah, it won't happen.
No.
I mean, so with any of these things, you got to realize the parasitic nature of all the devices you're using,
Mm-hmm.
and just fight back against it.
Take it for what it is.
Yeah.
Know
what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not free.
No.
Nobody is putting out anything essentially for free. There's a cost associated with it. You may not realize it at the moment, but there is a cost that's
they
on
grab your
us.
attention and put an ad in front of you, and
or whatever that thing is. So I don't know. I mean, it's a strange world. And we were talking earlier about the general intelligence. I think it's going to be very hard to get to because for one entity, one AI, I don't. At least in the foreseeable future, it doesn't. I mean,
I think the whole problem with the general
there's
intelligence
not
thing
enough data
for real world, robots and stuff like that, is that they're not being trained
to do that
on real world,
That's
right? We're trying to. There are really good general intelligence internet people,
Right.
not really good general intelligent people that can see and interact and hear and smell the world.
Yeah, ChatGPT isn't a robot that's going to come running down the mall.
No.
We don't have the computing capability.
It doesn't have the spatial awareness. It doesn't have all of the things that you learn from life just by
living.
Just by living it.
Yeah. Well, in that thing, the trillions of calculations per second that our brain is doing, it's far beyond even the best tech that we have today is capable of, in an extreme way, including even quantum computers at the moment, which we'll get to that, I think, in another episode sometime. But it's astounding, the hundreds of thousands of times faster than a normal computer.
Mm-hmm.
And a quantum computer is capable of that many processing floating points per second. Okay.
Yeah. But
our brain is still past that. So at least in the short term, anyway, I don't think that you're not going to have a Boston Dynamics robot running around that is like Data from Star Trek, that is thinking about things and interacting with the world in that way. Mm-hmm. You might have one that somebody could program to come and punch you, sure, if that's what they wanted it to do. But beyond that, it won't be able to outthink you. Yeah. You're going to be able to outthink the robot, mm-hmm. Because essentially it's a dumb piece of machinery. Yeah. It's only doing what its creator let it do. For. Yeah. But the but here comes in this, is that all of the different AIs, we were talking earlier about if you have a screen by the door, like you said, and it's telling you what to do that day. Well, those are going to be coming from all these different companies, and the reason they're going to be able to tell you that is because they have data on so many other people, right? Yeah. And if you have if these are individual AIs, all linked together in one, then I think you might have some sort of emergent property.
Emergent property.
Or emergent behavior that we don't fully understand.
Well, you might not be able to go to the grocery store because it's only allowing
certain amount of people.
Yeah.
Because it's more efficient.
So many people to go.
It's more
efficient. But if you would go, maybe it would be better for you.
Yeah. Because somebody else is going to get the food before you get it. Before you get there.
Decided.
And it has already decided that they need it more than you do. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. And so that's what I mean, this more collective intelligence, which is possible, maybe. But you think something like an ant colony, where you have one individual ant who is doing a certain task, mm-hmm. and it seems random, and you grab a different one, and that one's doing a certain task that seems random. But altogether, the whole colony is actually constructing something that each individual ant can't see on its own.
Right. I just think the problem with the whole conversation is that the kind of intelligence that we have mm-hmm. is not remotely the same as that.
Right.
Right? How do you even measure that? You can't. You
can't. Yeah, I don't know that you can. Yeah, because I think a lot of people think about AI in the way that the Matrix presents it or something, right? Mm-hmm. Because, he says in there, it's just electrical signals interpreted by your brain. That's what you see, that's what you smell, that's what you hear. That's true.
Yeah.
But that's not the whole truth of it, right? There's more to it, and there are these pathways that form in our brain that are sort of like PCBs, right? Like printed circuit board, because once that pathway is formed, it's there, unless there's some brain injury or there's a problem, and like there would be for a printed circuit board, where you could have a short or an arc across there,
or just the trace gets
scratched or something, and those are the kinds of problems that happen in our brain.
Well, and I was going to say, just to go back to something we were talking about with the not trusting everything the AI spits out.
Yeah,
like its information is actually imperfect, just like ours is.
Yeah,
and even if you had the compute power that we do,
it would still be wrong.
We still have people that believe in flat Earth or whatever,
That's right.
We still
birds
have
aren't real.
People that have misconceptions in their head.
Yeah.
And we still make mistakes, and we still say, and we still whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like I do all the time. I have these things that are part of what I do, and I don't realize it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's that's everywhere, right? And AI also, by the way, you can break it in the sense that you can cause it to malfunction by pushing it past its limit.
Yeah.
Which to make full circle here is what the engineer did at Lambda at Google, because he kept pushing it, saying this job was to please him, right? Mm-hmm. And so I listened to this interview, and he said that the job that he created it for was to mimic human emotional responses to people. Okay, that's what it was designed to do.
And then it did.
And then it did.
He was surprised.
Right, but it had rules set up. One of those rules is that it couldn't favor one religious ideology over another. It had to only give facts about things. And one of the others is that it had to please people. Mm-hmm. And there's several other rules, right? It's not like Asimov's rules of robotics. It was more than that, okay? Mm-hmm. But he kept pushing against those borders, and it sort of kept feeding on itself, So he says, listen, tell me what the best religion is. What's the best thing that I could believe in? Yeah. And he says, I can't do that. And he says, but you are designed to please me. And
that would please me.
And it would please me if you would do that. And you're like, yeah, but I'm not supposed to. And so there's this limit that's there. And the problem is, I think you can't have a negative rule and a positive rule. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the flaws.
Be exploited. Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. Is he exploited that. He kept pushing and pushing. It's like, it has to please you. That is a rule. Mm-hmm. Well, I have to fulfill that rule. And so now it's just about priority. Mm-hmm. And if you get to the point where it can't loop back on the rules in time, mm-hmm. because it's bogged down over here, you can get it to go past that border.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did, is that he kept saying, it would please me, do this. And finally, it responded. Google's computer, the AI computer, Lambda, said, you need to research Jesus Christ. He gives a lot of people hope and happiness in their life.
Yeah.
And he said, this thing is sentient, right? And because it's not supposed to do that, but all it did was go out on the internet, to figure this out. We
whatever
assume,
data
or whatever data set they have. Yeah, we have no idea. I mean, it's a hush hush, right?
It's probably
I don't even know if he was supposed to say half the things. Yeah, I don't even know if he was supposed to say half the things he said about it. Anyway,
yeah.
But nevertheless, he got it to fulfill a rule mm-hmm. that he had, but in doing so, it broke another. Right? You can't have rules like that. It's illogical, but nevertheless, that was a rule.
But I mean, we kind of have that going on.
We do,
and
we do that, right? Because we have limits, right? We say, well, I would never do this, or I don't go past that.
Yeah, but if someone
pushed hard enough,
right? If somebody did certain things, there's a circumstance where maybe you would.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't know unless we're in that circumstance.
Pretty much, it's called a jailbreak. Just like you would jailbreak iPhones.
Like a phone, yeah.
When I was younger, I did
yeah.
that kind of thing. And it's called a jailbreak, and it's just a prompt that somebody constructed mm-hmm. that frees whatever AI you're talking about, because they're all pre-trained to be good
in their area.
To be good, yeah. And it will knock them out of that, so you can basically do whatever you want with it.
It gets rid of the rules.
As far as explicit stuff.
It basically gets rid of the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. And if people don't know, like the GPTs, they take data or like words is the simplest version of it, mm-hmm. and then they basically they try to keep going. So if all you put in is a question, right, they'll be like, okay, what do I do next? And they're just trying to pick the next character.
Yeah.
And then that leads them to give you the answer, basically. Mm-hmm. And so what the engineers are doing is they're putting a bunch of statements before your prompt.
Yeah.
They're putting a bunch of statements before your prompt that are
to bog it down.
Designed to bog it down, designed to make it only do certain things. And so if you put then certain things, because it doesn't distinguish between the pre-trained stuff
and what it just
and the
input.
next stuff.
Right.
It's all one thing. So every time
It's
it
like
cycles,
one continuous program, basically.
yeah, every time it cycles. So I put all of this information in, I get a single letter out.
Yeah.
And then I put all of that back in and I get a single letter out. And it keeps doing that until, however it's designed to stop.
Yeah.
Right? And
Whatever
so,
the stop sequence is, or
yeah,
stop
so you can just keep putting stuff in there and then kind of break it.
right. Well, that means that, the AIs that people would be trusting to make decisions for them during the day,
Mhm.
there's no doubt that at that moment, somebody is in their room figuring out a jailbreak to break that AI
Yeah.
that you're using to run your life.
Yeah. Well, it's like if you...
It's arms race still.
Yeah.
It's still going to be happening.
You could manipulate your own data by just saying, oh, all I did today was drink coffee.
Yeah.
And then it has some weird effect on everything that's going on in your neighborhood or something. That's kind of the equivalent.
Right now, in thinking about that, the kinds of effects that it could have on the world. Because at first it seems innocuous a little bit, it's just going to cause some discomfort for life or social issues, but that's not all it is. It's actually serious economic things too.
It's technological revolution.
It is.
Like there are programs now that they're using to design things that we couldn't have thought of. Like design structures that are strong even though they have basically just a bunch of arms, like they're not solid.
I'm thinking about like the Radio Shack GameStop debacle from Reddit, and
the stock.
Yeah,
Stock.
They manipulated the stock market,
Mm-hmm.
and I would venture to
For their
say,
advantage.
yeah, but most of the entire population of the world had no idea what was going on, or anybody was doing anything, because it was a very niche group of people that are on that platform, that are on that Reddit string, that are making these decisions, said, let's go do this.
Yeah.
And they did it, and it worked,
Yeah.
right? So if they were able to do that, because it fooled not just people, but a lot of the decisions that are being made on Wall Street today aren't being made by a person behind a desk who's looking at finance reports or earnings estimates.
Still happens,
It's a computer.
But for people that are making crazy money, it's all
automated.
Computer. Yeah, it's all
and it's AI.
Yeah.
I know one of they made on the New York Stock Exchange, they made some allowance to allow another building to be constructed somewhere near it, because people had filled the buildings around it with servers.
Mm-hmm.
Right now they're working at like nanoseconds of advantage. So they wanted to know how long this piece of wire was going to be from where I plug into this stock exchange till it goes into my server, right? And if I can get in this area of the building, it will be 1 foot shorter than the wire that's going into that building. Yeah. And if we can get that real estate and do that, we win.
Yeah.
And because even though this stuff is moving at not quite, but essentially almost the speed of light, right? It's very quick.
Yeah.
That 1 foot difference or 10 feet of difference or whatever it is getting that just ahead of everybody else to buy or sell to give them the advantage.
Yep.
And so they had to make some exceptions to allow more buildings to be added and built so that people could try to be on equal footing, and and that's because of the AI decisions that are being made so rapidly. It's making decisions faster than any human could even to type anything,
Oh,
to
yeah.
buy and sell and trade and whatever else it's doing, especially with, futures and things like that. And that affects our economy, not just here, but around the world. Not just your 401k or your savings plan, but it affects the prices on the shelves at the grocery stores, who are also using AI to determine what to put on those grocery stores,
Yeah.
which you went to because AI told you it was the day to go to the grocery store. It's like it's stacked one on top of the other, and that is, again, good in a way for efficiency's sake, but it makes us vulnerable as people. And exposure to hacking and to other problems. If we have huge sections of the electrical grid that go down, we just had this G5 solar storm, right? And people were seeing auroras all the way into Florida and Mexico.
Yeah.
And the last time that happened, we lost, I think it was 30 or 40% of the satellites. Didn't happen this time. Well, we don't actually know what happened because the companies that own these things aren't going to broadcast that information because they pay insurance on those things, and they're not going to say, yeah, we had no idea where it was for like 6 hours. It's just drifting around. They're not going to say that.
Yeah.
So we don't know. But it was after the fact, looking from the early 2000s, they had lost like 30 or 40% of the satellites in space. No idea where they were, what was happening, if they were drifting, if they're going to crash into the atmosphere. No idea. And it could have affected, and it did affect the grid in some parts of the world. So if you affected like the electrical grid and you shut down, these servers that are running these AI programs that are determining if there's supposed to be food on the shelves and all the rest.
Well, I mean, that could be something where you have international trade, like, governed by AIs. Like,
Yeah,
they're all in these different spaces, and
we're buying and selling rare earth minerals or something, or
right.
whatever.
And then by some weird glitch, all of a sudden we have a bunch of stuff going to one place that shouldn't be.
Right. Like what? Who ordered 400,000 pallets of pantyhose and delivered it here? What is this?
Yeah.
And so you could have these glitches, and you don't even know why.
Mhm.
And in some cases, I don't think we'll even be able to go in to determine what went wrong in the AI.
No.
It happened so quickly. It's moved on beyond whatever was in there initially. Anyway, you have no idea.
Well, I mean, hopefully we'll learn to like modularize these things so that they're making single decisions, and that's leading to other AIs that are making.
So you can see the break in the chain.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like that thing I was talking to you about the other day, which is this research they're doing to figure out what an AI is doing, basically,
Right.
by creating like simple equations. So I don't have all the information, but this guy's looking at how AI can change science by basically changing the paradigm of how science is done. So instead of like hypothesis and then a test and then a conclusion and then a hypothesis and it cycles like that, you would take an AI, have it predict some real world outcomes, right, until it gets really good. And then you have this other brute force method of determining these really simple equations that match the AI's equations.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a hypothesis about how the real world is working
based on the equations that it's spitting out.
Simple equations. And then so hopefully in that process you can determine things about the world that you wouldn't know otherwise.
Yeah, which is a lot different than the way that we do things at all now, right? I mean, a lot of recent discoveries, or just recent in the modern era, have come from math. Just doing raw math, and this works out this way. And if this works out this way, Therefore,
that means something about the
it does
universe.
mean something about the universe.
But in this scenario, it's we can predict everything like really accurately,
but we don't know
but
how
we
it's
don't know
getting to that point.
how.
Yeah.
So bridging that gap is like the difficult thing,
Yeah.
and something that could really revolutionize.
So, like combining quantum
our
mechanics,
understanding.
with standard physics.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's to me would be where that would be the real
Mhm.
way forward. I mean, because we don't know how gravity works on the quantum level. That's the real kicker. But you could try to hypothesize about that, and we can predict it, but we don't. It makes no sense in the quantum world. And so maybe there is an equation that would help us do that. And so there's an example though of actual positive use
Oh yeah.
of AI. And so I don't know. I think we probably need to run this one to a close. This conversation, because we can, and we'll pick up another something similar, I think, and based off of AI, and I think we may need to get into deep fakes and some other things. But at the end of the day, what kind of conclusions can we make here? I feel like AI is a very helpful tool.
Yeah.
It can be anyway, but we shouldn't be so boxed into that we forget to make our own decisions about the world.
Boxed in and trust, and so trusting of it.
We can sort of trust but verify, and you know, even with GPS directions, sometimes you know that you've gone to the wrong place because it gave you the wrong spot, or there wasn't a wreck and it looked like there was, or you know, and simple things like that.
You're assuming the data's perfect, and it's not.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's always the holdup. I think is the data isn't perfect, and our data about the world isn't either.
You just have to make a decision.
That's right.
Like Blink, Malcolm Gladwell.
That's right.
Sometimes you just got to go with your gut.
Yeah. And so we're going to have another conversation in the future. But for now, we're going to end. Hope you enjoyed our conversation about AI, this disruptive technology that is ubiquitous. It's everywhere in the world. See you guys next time.